Welcome back to LBG Reviews. Before we dive in, please be sure to like and subscribe. This week we'll be talking about Paleo Pines. Paleo Pines is a farming simulator, life simulator game made by Italic Pig. Paleo Pines starts off with you watching the birth and growth of... Now, keep in mind, before we talk about the nitty-gritty details of the game, Paleo Pines has scientifically accurate dinosaur names because it is a farming simulator mixed with dinosaurs. I'm not very good at pronouncing dinosaur names. I use a lot of shorthand versions of dinosaur names rather than their full name. So as an example, the start of the game sees you watching a slideshow that is the birth and growth of a parasaur. Editor LBG, please be sure to put up the full scientific name because I know there will be people out there that would care for that. Now, eventually in the slideshow, you see that your parasaur becomes too large for you to keep in your home. So, you and your parasaur travel to a place called Paleo Pines, where many other dinosaurs live. You get settled in for the night, you wake up in the next morning, and you come across two people that have come to check out the fact that someone has actually moved in. These people that you first meet are Owen and Mary. Mary is your typical go-get-em kind of explorer. She's the kind of person, and you can even see a lot of this in the game. Mary is the type of person where she doesn't have time to write stuff down because she's too busy learning it by watching or seeing it for herself. Whereas Owen is the kind of meticulous, oh my gosh, I need to write this down right now or else I'll forget kind of guy. Like, there'll even be conflicts that you have to observe and kind of help mediate, where Mary is, oh my gosh, I've got to go check this out now, whereas Owen's like, what? Let me write this down before I go check it out. Basically, they give you the rundown that this is the first parasaur that Paleo Pines has seen in a long time. And so that begins your first story quest, which is to figure out where all the other parasaurs are. So, as you play, you find out that another issue that is plaguing Paleo Pines, apart from its lack of parasaurs, is that the passageway between the Pebble Plaza and the town of Dapplewood is currently blocked off. And this is where the core mechanics of the game come in. Unlike other games that involve dinosaurs, like say Ark Survival Evolved or other dinosaur-based experiences, you're not taming dinosaurs here. You're befriending them. At any point, the dinosaurs could decide, you know what, you're not treating me right, I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the woods. As a result, it's not like you feed your dinosaurs and eventually they'll lay eggs or anything like that. No. Your dinosaurs mostly act as like farm hands. As an example, Lucky, your first ever dinosaur, right? He can clear away debris, and that is his main function on your farm, apart from being a steed for you to ride around the town and the nearby areas in. And as you progress, you eventually have to tame a type of dinosaur that I'm just going to nickname Galley. LBG, please be sure to put up the name on screen. Galley is what the game calls a waterer. So, what do you think they do? You water your crops with them. Not only is Galley a waterer, Galley is a sprinter. They move really fast when you're running around the world. But, I'm sure you've realized this, a waterer and a sprinter doesn't really help you out with clearing away the pathway to Dapplewood. Now, why is that so important? Well, for one, there are a few other people that you meet in the Pebble Plaza. In the Pebble Plaza, you meet Agami, Marlowe, Corlin, and Pippin. Agami is the town's seed shop. So Agami is where you go if you need to buy new seeds to plant. Corlin is a general store, essentially. You go to him to buy herbivore food, to buy carnivore food, to buy fertilizers, and basically, if there's any general purpose thing you need for your farm, Corlin should have it. Marlowe is the town carpenter, and Pippin is, well, he's technically the town baker, but he only makes one type of food. A pastry called a poppin. Poppins aren't meant for you, the player, to consume. No, they're treats for dinosaurs, which then leads into how dinosaur befriending works. Later on in the game's story, you unlock the ability to use your flute. Your flute allows you to communicate with the dinosaurs and to initiate the befriending process with them. You learn this in the tutorial that teaches you how to befriend dinosaurs when you befriend Galley. You have to match their friend call. Then after that, you have to feed them a treat that they like a few times. And then if their friendship goes up too high, you have to soothe them back down into the correct range to try to befriend them. If you can manage to land within the smallest perfect range, it won't be an issue to befriend them. But if you land in the slightly lighter green area, then it's going to take a little more effort, but you'll still be able to befriend them. This is where poppins come in. Poppins are used to essentially seal the deal. They are what you give a dinosaur when you have finally gotten into that golden range and you want to befriend it. At the start of the game, there's only one type of poppin, crunchy poppins. As the game goes on, you can convince Pippin to try making different flavors of poppins. I started off on my personal playthrough with juicy poppins, then we unlocked earthy poppins, then you've got fragrant poppins and a few others. But the juicy poppin allowed me to befriend another dinosaur that I'm going to nickname Styra. LBG, please be sure to put up the actual name. Styra is a tiller and a smasher. Tillers do as they say. They till the fields for you. That does not mean that they clean up the spent field spaces, though. I learned that the hard way because in Paleo Pines, whenever you harvest a crop, it leaves behind this hole that you have to clean up before you can make use of the space again. Tiller dinosaurs don't do that for you. They can only create new farmland. But what does a smasher do? Well, a smasher can break open rocks. And that's exactly what you need to clear away the pathway to Dapplewood. Now, I could go into loads more detail about the number of seasons and some of the other gameplay quirks. But honestly, we both know part of why you come here, and that's to hear about those accessibility features. Paleo Pines has a few accessibility features. You can enable or disable larger sized text. You can enable or disable the option to require a button toggle to sprint, whereas normally it's a button that you have to hold down. Enable high contrast mode to make the game easier to see if you've got color blindness issues or issues with contrast. You also have the option to have the game constantly display common button prompts. So as an example, like when you're using a tool, it'll constantly display press A or X to do this. Like it'll just let you know, yo, if you want to do this, this, or this, all you gotta do is press this button. So, what are my thoughts on Paleo Pines as a whole? Paleo Pines has been a lot of fun to play recently, however, I will say that dinosaur logistics is a nightmare. This will be the last thing that I touch on before I decide on what game to talk about next week. There are 3 social types: pack dinos, herd dinos, and loner dinos. Pack and herd dinos would prefer to have groups of dinosaurs within their pen. Loner dinosaurs would prefer to be on their own. As I've been playing the game, I've needed to bring in a carnivore. You run into issues where your dinosaur's happiness takes a hit if you have herbivores and a carnivore in the same pen. Your herbivores are going to be unnerved by carnivore food nearby. But the carnivore that I brought in would prefer to be in a pack, but I didn't really have the means to support bringing in another carnivore at that moment. So there's been a lot of logistics that I've had to figure out as I've been playing the game. Next week, we're going to switch it up a bit in terms of games that I've talked about on this channel. We're going to talk about Baldur's Gate 3 next week. Hope you guys look forward to that.